Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 248, and I'm very happy to welcome my very special guest joining me. And he is a writer, a director, a film producer, and he is also a literary critic, not to mention a podcaster, and he is Mr. John Kenneth Muir. John, welcome.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you for having me on the show. And I want to say congratulations at 250 shows, just 2 shows away. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, John.
That is so cool.
It's creeping up. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
Thanks, John. That means a lot. And you're here tonight to talk about your new web series that is going to be premiering on January 23rd on YouTube. And it is called Abnormal Fixation.
That is it, right? And Roy, you're one of the few people outside of festivals who's seen it so far.
Well, I'm honored that you gave me that privilege to see it, and I have to say, you roped me in, John. It was excellent, and I'm very excited about our viewers having the opportunity to see it when it premieres, and also having the opportunity to discuss it with you tonight and kind of giving us maybe some insight about it and how everything came about. So very, very much looking forward to our discussion.
Me too.
So with that said, now you and I actually had the opportunity to meet back in 1999, and believe it or not, folks, at a Space 1999 convention, it's amazing that it's been 25 years, going on 26 that convention.
Years. How is that possible, Roy? I'm not that old. That can't have been,
No. It wasn't that long
ago. No. That's right.
But I actually feel like I've been in a time machine, John, because back then you had, I'm going to show the folks exploring Space 1999, and fast forward 25 years, and you've had an amazing accomplishment with, your works of books. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've done about 34 books up to date.
That's right.
Point.
Yeah,
John, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I've been very blessed, and it all started with that Space 1999 book and that convention, which is an experience I'll just never forget. Meeting you, meeting Matteo Latosa of Powis Books, meeting Johnny Byrne, Nick Tate. Being out on the terrace on September 13th, 1999, the day the moon is supposed to go out of orbit. I guess we were lucky it didn't, but it was still kind of sad that it didn't.
We're all waiting.
That's right. No, I mean, that was an incredible experience, and it is unfathomable to me that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I still had hair back then.
You look great. I want to say, I want to welcome, I see Jeff Rubel's joining us, and Jeff is joining us from Utah. So I want to say hi to Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, welcome.
And my wife, Sherry's downstairs, and she's joining us, and she's saying
Sherry,
hi, John.
Hello. So,
John, how did Abnormal Fixation come about? I know I kind of went back in the past a little bit, and I jumped to the present, but what was your reasons for putting it together, and how did it all become what it is? And it's going to be debuting very shortly.
Right. Well, so gosh, again, going back a good long time, I had made a web series for YouTube many years ago called The House Between. And it was a totally different time. So like the technology, everything else was like very different. On YouTube at that point, you couldn't even put videos that were longer than 10 minutes. So like we had a premiere on something called VO at the time. I think VO is still out there. But we did 3 years of that, and we won some awards. And I met all of these amazing and talented people who were involved behind the scenes and on the show. And then I had my I had my son, and life got kind of taken away. You took a different direction, and you get busy, and it costs a lot of money to do an independent production. And then like all these years had passed, and it was the pandemic, and during the pandemic, when you started this show 5 years ago, we had a Zoom for like everyone for the house between, because I had re-edited them and dropped them on YouTube at that point. And I just realized what a talented group of people this was, and this is, and how much I love them all. And so we created this audio drama that like sort of picked up the story of Enter the House Between. That was the sort of the new title for it, to signify it was the audio drama and not the original web series. And that was a blast, and it's still kind of ongoing. But after we got that, I really got the sort of juice to say, hey, let's do another independent video production. Like, everybody looks great. We have all these stories to tell. We have all of these talents. And what I really wanted to do, what I really felt inspired to do, was something kind of funny. I'd gone back. I'm a big fan. Obviously, I wrote a book about the Christopher Guest movies like Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, Mighty Win. I love those. I'm a big fan of comedies like that. I guess you call them mockumentaries, right? Mm-hmm. Although Christopher Guest doesn't like that term because he says nobody's actually mocked. So I loved that, but I also went back and I watched. It's crazy. I went back and I watched reruns of like I Love Lucy with my family, and we went back and watched silent films. We watched some Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, and it just struck me that right now everyone's like, we live in such polarized times. We're so divided. And I kind of thought, well, it hasn't always been that way. There have always been people of different political parties, but somehow we've still all been able to laugh, right? We've been able to laugh at Lucille Ball or Groucho Marx or Buster Keaton or whoever you want to talk about, right?
The classics.
Right, exactly. I thought, we kind of don't do it that way anymore.
Right.
And I thought, well, it would be really fun and maybe very timely, and everybody could use a good laugh. to try to do something a little sillier and a little funnier, and maybe just make people happy. And that was sort of like the sum total of my aspirations for this is like, well, why don't we do something funny? Right? And the whole country could use a little laugh at this point, I think. And I mean, maybe that's a first step towards bringing us back together if we start laughing together.
Well, they say laughter is medicine for the soul. So definitely with that.
Absolutely. I mean, that is really my thought. Comedy is really hard though. Right?
Actually, John, it's funny you say that because I've heard that on so many occasions that doing comedy is actually harder than doing drama because it's almost like you can't force comedy. It almost has to come right through, and it's timing, it's being in the moment. Not to say that with drama it's not either, but it's just that it's almost like that next step, that next level.
It really is. And I've done things in science fiction and horror, and they have their own difficulties too, but comedy was sort of on a whole different level because you're right. You've got to get the timing right. You've got to get all the details right. You got to get all the movements right. And those things take time. And when you're doing an independent, low budget production like this, where time is money, it's like, oh my gosh, we don't have time to do a retake. We don't have props that we can break multiple times.
Well, I have to say, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but your introduction, when you're first introduced into the first episode, I was hysterical.
Thank you. That means so much to me. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that.
It was just it was a wonderful moment captured, and in fact, I liked it so much that I actually took a still from when you were just smiling on your entrance there. It was just it never gets old.
I looked crazy. You can tell from the clothes I'm wearing in that scene. I mean, we have this whole vision for this character whose name is Elvis Bragg. So we're thinking about everything, wardrobe. What would these characters wear? What would he wear? What does it embody about him? And I have to confess, so you saw that very loud shirt, right? And I wear a series of these awful loud shirts like that, right? And It was really hard for me at first just to like be in those clothes. just to be it's just not me at all. And but then as it went on, I grew to love it, and it's like I realized it was like the shortcut to getting into character. I put on these crazy loud shirts, and I suddenly just channeled this crazy character. And so it was an amazing experience for me, just in terms of acting and performing and sort of going outside myself, which is
Yeah.
something you kind of need to do with comedy because
Yeah.
you can't be at all precious with it. You can't worry about vanity or things like that in terms of doing comedy. You just have to be in the moment and do it, and sort of how you look and what happens. I mean, that's what happens. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
I'm gonna say too, I mean, we haven't seen each other in person. It's been almost 25 years. We've had the opportunity to interact during Zoom meetings with the Space 99 and virtual conventions that were a
right.
couple of years ago. So that was probably
Yes.
the last time we saw each other. But having watched the episode, and I've actually watched it multiple times, just
Ah!
in order to enjoy it that much, and then also just as far as gathering the information, I was so used to you being in that character that when you came on and we met just now, I was like, I was kind of thrown off. It's like John's all serious.
I haven't broken anything yet, but give me a minute. I will. I plan to.
So
I don't have on my Elvis glasses. That's the right. Yeah, that's.
no, so kudos to you though, because with your performance,
Well, thank
it
you.
was definitely enjoyable, and you definitely sold the character.
I love it. I mean, there is nothing I like better now than like getting back into that character and doing crazy things again with like people who are friends, people who are so talented, and just to come in and wreck whole rooms and stuff.
As you did in your opening.
Exactly right. Yeah. Oh my
I want to
gosh.
say hi to Bill. Bill's joining us. Hi, Bill, and he's joining us
Ew.
from Harmony, New Jersey, right down the road.
Yay, New Jersey.
And May is joining us from Canada. Hey,
Hi,
May.
May.
And then I want to say hi to Missy, who's joining us from Texas.
Missy, hello.
So we have some folks coming in there too.
Oh,
So
that's
just
great.
welcome to the show. Yeah, absolutely. So now, in regards to the character, what was your motivation as far as developing? I mean, he's named Elvis. Elvis Bragg. What a name for a character. Was
Right.
there a reason behind that, or?
Well, that this character is sort of a true believer. And I feel like he's an innocent, but the brag part kind of comes in because he sort of overestimates his capabilities and his abilities to do things and navigate situations. He's very confident going into things, but really without any just cause to be confident. So that's sort of the brag part. And I am a huge Elvis fan. I absolutely adore Elvis. And I remember in second grade, like what I wanted for Christmas was an Elvis record album, and I got it. I remember like dancing around my basement to Hound Dog, and that's like my favorite song. Um, I just adore Elvis, and I know this will sound crazy to people who love Elvis because I guess they consider it like sort of a maybe distillation of who he was. But like I even love his movies. I mean they're not all great, but he's so charming in them.
Yeah.
Even the worst of them, he's so charming and exudes this just sort of aura of decency and goodness, and he's having a good time. And obviously there's that slightly paranormal thing. Some people believe Elvis is still alive. You get like
Isn't he?
yeah, right. Yeah, of course it is. Right. Elvis Bragg thinks so, right? You have Bubba Hotep, which is one of my favorite movies with old Elvis,
Mhm.
fighting the mummy in the nursing home. Great movie. But I just love Elvis, and it seemed to me that the Elvis Bragg character needed to have that kind of flamboyant first name to go with the bragging part. So
Right.
I just love the sound of Elvis Bragg. I think that's a great name.
No, it definitely works.
Thank you.
And so can you tell the folks, give the folks a little bit of a summary about what the plot is and what the story is about, just to kind of, give them a little small preview because we don't want to give too much away.
Absolutely. So our first 6 episodes of Abnormal Fixation, each one is about 30 minutes or so. They all tell this story of this man, Elvis Bragg, who very much believes in the paranormal. And he is pitted against his foil, his nemesis, a guy named Mark Missouri, a Texan, who is played by the very talented Chris Martin, who does an amazing job.
Really does.
And Mark Missouri is the CEO of a nonprofit called Skepticop. And every year, Skepticop holds this contest where it will pay $250,000 to anyone who can prove the paranormal exists. But the downside of that is that if you don't prove it in a year, you have to pay Skepticop the $250,000 if you perpetrate a hoax, if you can't provide the evidence, things like that. So Elvis signs the contract, gets into this deal with Skepticop, and he has 1 year to prove the existence of the paranormal. And I don't want to, I mean, it's probably out there already, but there's something personal, something personal between Mark and Elvis, namely Elvis's wife, Susan, played by the incredible Alicia Martin. That she is sort of a figure that they are both orbiting around. So it's not just this idea of who's going to win the contest, but sort of who's going to win Susan's affections, Mark or Elvis. And
So really, there's two things at stake there.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So Elvis has a lot on the line, right? But I guess Mark does too. So, but of course, Mark is much more competent than Elvis is. He's got his own issues, I guess, but generally he presents as more socially confident, I guess, than Elvis does. So the episode you saw was just kind of beginning to get to what the paranormal case is that we are going to be investigating for these 6 episodes, which is the Woodpile Mill Phantom, a phantom in North Carolina, rural North Carolina. And that's what Elvis is going to try to prove the existence of with his team of experts who, let me just say, are all as crazy or more crazy than Elvis is, and who you'll meet in episode 2. So I'm thrilled to see that these episodes will be coming out and people get to experience not just Elvis and Mark and Susan, but also Elvis's entourage of personalities.
With episode number 2 being appropriately titled "The Team," right?
The Team. That's right. Absolutely. It's Elvis's team. Now they have to go find the Phantom. And, if anybody has seen any stills from the show, I don't want to say what's going on with some of these characters, but there's some crazy stuff going on with some of these folks, which I think is very funny. And again, my model, although people do have very different opinions about Christopher Guest, he says he doesn't really mock anybody, and I do think his movies are gentle, but sometimes people look and say, oh no, these are like really brutal. Spinal Tap is brutal. So it depends where you fall on that. It's like, I don't think we're making fun of anybody. I think we're just having a good time with.
And it has its serious, and it has its serious moments too, which is great, which is excellent writing on your part, because you can. One show that always amazed me was MASH, because you could go from drama to comedy, back to drama, back to comedy. It could just flip flop, and it was seamless. And watching this first episode has elements of that. It's very comedic, but it's very serious. But then it goes back to the comedic aspect, and then it goes back to the serious part of it. So it's very enjoyable from that standpoint, and the time goes very quickly too. It's not
good.
Yes,
I appreciate you saying that so much, and I know the idea was that we still want you to relate and like these people, which may go against some precepts of comedy. I guess it's that you kind of stand back and watch something happen to somebody. And if you're too close, you feel sympathy for them. But if you stand back, it's funny.
Right.
So it is sort of like this getting in close and having the serious and then stepping back and seeing how it's funny. But I know there are definitely some moments in episode 1, episode 2, I mean, really going through all of them that go into, into more serious moments about the relationships
Mhm.
and, what's under the humor. There's some serious stuff. Elvis is dealing with, something that's very important to him, and certainly so is Season. I mean,
Yeah.
Season is trying to grapple with these two men, one whom she's separated from and one whom she's living with, and she has to kind of make a decision about what she wants to do with her life and who she wants to be with, and she's got a lot of history with Elvis, and you see some of that in episode 1, I think, and I think it's actually kind of tender and sweet, right? And then it becomes kind of sad at some point.
Right, exactly. And to your point too, depending upon how close you are, you can relate. And I think when the folks see it, I know personally, there's like moments where you think I can relate to personally, where it's like you try to do something almost you're trying to put your all into it, and then it's like when you're almost trying to do it to make sure it doesn't mess up, it potentially does mess up. It's just one of those things that happens,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's fair.
it's a typical life experience, and it's like,
Yes.
why does that always happen?
Right. No, it's a joke amongst all of our cast members and crew members. We call them like Elvis moments, and they happen all the time. I mean, they happen all the time to me. I said, I'm having an
Mhm.
Elvis moment. Excuse me, I'm having an Elvis moment right now. Everything that I just set out to do, I've just failed utterly to do. I've just destroyed this. I think that is something that makes Elvis relatable. Not that everybody is as overtly clumsy as he is,
Right.
but that we all do. It's exactly what you said. We all set out to do things, and we have the best of intentions, and we take it on with seriousness, and it matters to us. And then, like you said, it just that kind of doesn't come out, and something goes wrong, right? And
Right.
those moments are very human, I think. And
Yes.
I mean, what I say about, abnormal fixation about, everything in life is that it's better to try to do something amazing, right? Because if you
Mhm.
don't try, even if it turns out bad, I mean, if you don't try, you'll never know, right?
Right. Yeah,
Right.
it's yeah, better to have tried and failed than not tried at all.
Exactly, exactly. There's a lot to learn from trying something.
Um,
Elvis would tell us that for sure.
Shari said, "Love the name Season."
Oh, yes. I love the name Season 2. Season is I think a great character, and I'm just so thrilled with Alicia's portrayal of her. I think she really grounds it,
Mhm.
brings it down to reality, pulls us back when it gets too big, but also she can do some amazing comedy too, as you've seen. I don't want to give too much away, but some of the stuff she does with her eye, it's
Yeah,
very
there's
amusing.
definitely different levels
Right.
that you can see that she's experiencing, and she
Yeah, that's one way to put it, right? Yeah.
Randy's joining us from Wisconsin. Welcome,
Randy.
Randy. He's saying evening splitting time between this and the Packers.
All right. Hey, I'm honored. Getting some
We
time
made the
and
cut.
that's right.
So I want to just show some slides for the folks that we have, and this was for the first episode, and we get to meet. Don't get to meet all the characters. Again, we're going to be meeting more of the cast in the second episode, the team.
That's right.
And here's some stills, and that's
Mhm.
Alyssa.
Right.
Alyssa
So
Martin.
Alyssa is the documentarian. Alyssa Jarvis, played by my wife, Catherine, who is following Elvis around as he tries to prove the existence of the paranormal. So again, it's this kind of thing where you have like these people involved in the chaos and the people outside of the chaos who are observing it, with you know, I guess interesting perceptions of what these crazy people are doing, and then that's certainly Catherine, I think, is really great at that, sort of being the outsider and doing the interviews with the people and listening and pointing out where somebody is off base or something like that, or something doesn't make sense.
I
But
loved her performance in the first episode, and I love how straight she plays it. She sells it with that.
Yay! Well, I can't wait to tell her that. Thank you. She will be very pleased about that.
No, it was
We talk about it sometimes. It's not, it's kind of a thankless role because, you're always sort of the straight man. You're always kind of setting up the crazy things that are going to happen. But I mean, I just think she brings so much to it, and with her looks and with her tone, even her pose and posture at times, I think is really funny. So yeah.
And again, I don't want to give anything away, but when her introduction in the very beginning, and then she's talking about the films she's done, I lost it.
Hey, oh, I'm so glad. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that landed. That was like literally, I think, the first joke in the show, and I was thinking, people are either going to get that and really laugh, or they're just going to miss that completely. So Roy, I'm so glad you got that. I'm so glad that worked for you. That's excellent.
It totally did. And again, I'm trying to be careful not to give anything away because I don't want to spoil anything. But I definitely wanted to give the acknowledgement for that. So yeah, it was great.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. That was just so funny to write.
Sherry said, really like the whole concept of this. Can't wait to see it. Sounds really fun.
Oh, Sherry, I can't wait for you to see it. I'm so excited for the world to get to see it.
And then there's Chris Martin, Mark Missouri.
Oh my gosh. Right. And he can just he's got that swagger, that just sells this character, I think. He's so good. And, it's so funny because in real life, Chris is a real Renaissance man. I mean, he could do anything. He could recite chapter and verse about anime. He could fix your kitchen sink. He could be your personal trainer. He could be your accountant and investor. I mean, he's amazing. He can do anything. and then he's playing this kind of cowboy character, who's just, I mean, I think very funny, but he's a great foil for Elvis.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a clash there.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there is Elvis.
Two of my awful shirts, right? Two of those really loud shirts. Oh, one of them, of course, is Christmas themed, which plays into the episode, and then I don't know what the other one is themed. I honestly don't. That other shirt, it's just like an explosion of bright colors, mixed together.
You definitely look like you're having a lot of, in fact, too much fun, John.
Yeah. I did. I had a great time. I mean, we shot this, day in and day out, probably for like 20 hours a day for something like 9 or 10 days. So, I mean, so we were totally immersed in it. And, like as it went on, and I'm sure I was getting tired, but I was also getting like so enthused and crazy as it went. It's like, this is great. Oh my gosh. Who would not love doing this all the time?
So did you film it consecutively over a certain period of time, or did you break it up as far as like, was it consecutive days or?
Yeah. So we did it over consecutive. There was one. So the Alyssa sequences with Catherine, that was a location we rented, and that was maybe a couple weeks before the main shoot where we did all of her scenes there. And then, we just had all these other locations, like the brewery we went to film a scene. You haven't, because you haven't seen the some of the other locations yet that we did. But it was just staggered like all day long. Like, so we would start shooting. I mean, sometimes I was in that chair, doing scenes at like 5:36 in the morning, and we would go some days to like 3 a.m. And I mean, so I say it's exhausting, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't we shot consecutively, but it wasn't necessarily in order. It's like when we had, we had to go by when we could get into the spaces and things like that. So we were constantly shooting stuff, but it wasn't necessarily, it was consecutive, but not sequential, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. And that's typical movie making too, with films or television series too. So
you have to maximize any location you're at, right? So if we go to a place for in 3 different episodes, we're doing all those chunks at once, right? So and you see, that's the really nice thing about being bald and not having to worry about hair. There's no continuity issues for me. So my hair isn't longer in any of this some days than others.
Now, did you shoot this in the spring or was it in the summer?
We shot it in the summer, and it was kind of crazy because we actually shot it. Some of the days were the hottest days of the year.
Mm,
And, so one of the things we had to do to make sure we were recording sound well was when we would go into places, we had to turn the air conditioning off.
oh yeah,
So there was one episode where we were in this building, and we were surrounded by glass windows on all sides, and it was 103, 104 outside, and shooting inside, it was 98, 99 degrees. I mean, it was like we were in like a fish tank, and the sun was, you know,
I know.
melting us. It was unreal. And so that was a really hard day. I'll tell you what, that was a really hard day, to do that, and to be in that heat, and sort of try to stay in character, and keep the rhythm of the comedy going, because everybody was absolutely miserable.
Right,
Um, but then, the sun went down, it was all okay. But that creates its own problem too, because then, when you're surrounded by the glass windows, the light is changing shot to shot.
natural
Like,
light.
we
Yeah,
have right, we have to get this now, because in 5 minutes the light is going to be different in here. So that was a tense day. And if I'm remembering it right, that might have been the first or second day we shot, so we didn't have a lot of experience yet
mhm.
as a crew, as a unit, and that was a real challenge. But it all turned out great. So
And you had the word I like to use on this show is the camaraderie.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
the
can't even say that.
camaraderie of the
Come on,
folks that
Robbie.
you've worked with them before and everything. So you pretty much had all worked together, and there is that common bond then too, which is great.
There is. I mean, I can't complain. I mean, about anything. Like, I mean, everybody in the cast and crew, I mean, they were there and they committed. Even under the worst and most difficult circumstances. Which may or may not have also included a house that was filled with cow poop, and living in the cow poop were hornets.
Oh geez.
Yeah, that was an interesting day.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. There were some tough days, but like today, everybody really committed, and yeah, and again, that's what you want. An enterprise like this, is really built on the enthusiasm of the people involved, and the love they have for what they're doing, and for each other. So I feel very lucky about that.
Oh, that's really good though. That is good to hear. Vince is out there. He's saying, "I'm here."
Vince,
Hey,
Vince, Vinny, hello.
he's on YouTube. Welcome, Vince. And Vince is a huge fan of your Doctor Who book that you had
Oh, that is so nice. Thank you, Vinny. Gosh, again, if I don't want to say about how many years ago I wrote that.
just a few.
That just a few. It was several doctors back. Let me put that.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually stuck with caught back with the Tom Baker series back from the '70s myself.
Oh, okay. I love that era. Oh my gosh, I love the Hinchcliffe era with all the like Planet of Evil and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
That's such a great era in Doctor Who. But yeah, I wrote that book when the original British series had been canceled, and there'd just been the American TV, but there was like no new show.
Yeah.
It was pre Eccleston. So yeah, that it's crazy to think about how long ago that was.
Oh, I know. And Randy Lee's he's calling me out, camaraderie.
I can't even say it. Camaraderie. Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
do it. I can't say it.
it's an inside joke. What happened was I would say that on the show a lot, and what Ross did was he reached out to the viewers and he said every time Roy says camaraderie, type in the comments center drink, and then he was taking shots.
The drinking game. That's great. Camaraderie. See, I can't do it.
Yeah, camaraderie.
Camaraderie. Oh, God.
Unbeknownst to me, John, this was going on with the viewers and my co-host, and I had no clue.
That's great. When did you find out?
It was probably like after the fact, the next day, I think it was, and then the truth was out. Somebody, one of the viewers actually messaged me. Yeah, pound camaraderie game.
There it is, right? All right. Well, Roy, I hope heads rolled after that. You got those people, right?
Yeah, and Vince said, "Yes, I love your Doctor Who book."
Oh, thank you, Vinny.
So, let me show a few more slides that I have to share. So I'm going to bring this up a couple moments.
That
And
is Alicia and me, Season and Elvis having a very serious conversation from episode 3, which is the video, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, and then the slide on the right is Season and Alyssa, so Alicia and Catherine, and you can see they're outside there. That is the episode where they are looking for the location of the Woodpire Mill Phantom's secret house. So you can see we're out in the woods there, and actually, Season is holding an I think like an EMF gun or something like that there
Yes.
that she's describing for the documentary crew what it is and what it's doing and what it will help them do, once they find the house and can begin analyzing it for paranormal activity, I guess.
And let me go to the next one. Now, this has got to be the professor.
It's not. Ha!
Oh, you got me, John. Okay.
It seems like it should be, right?
Oh.
So this is a character who I would love to name. Well, okay, it's in the teaser, the name for it. So this is Bleeder,
Okay.
and you'll find out why he is named Bleeder in episode 2, the team, and that location there on the first slide, that is the room I was talking about, where it was so hot, and if I thought I had it bad, you'll notice I was in short sleeves,
Yeah.
but this guy had to wear a bubble wrap jumpsuit. So he had it worse than I did for sure. Yeah, I guess all 3 of these, scenes involve Bleeder. We're the third one over on the right where we're all like sort of hunched over his laptop looking at information. That's the inside. That's like the reverse inside of the first slide. That's that room I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So
and
yeah,
I
so
love. Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, please, Roy, go ahead.
I was going to say I love the expression on Catherine's face, and she's like,
Right. Yes. She's followed around in some of the later episodes by a cameraman named Dave, and she's always giving him orders like, film this, So I think that's what she's doing. Like, get over here, film this. But this was a location that we rented in Uptown Charlotte, and just despite the heat and having to turn off the air conditioner, it was like a really great location, and we'll probably go back there for our season 2, but not film up in that room. At least not if it's 100 degrees. So
maybe a little later in the season.
right, exactly. Yeah. Maybe that would be a good fall shoot. Right.
And now these are some behind the scene moments that you have.
That's right. So the one on the left, and that's actually the room I'm in right now in my house. You can probably tell by the door frame behind me. But that is Pauline Alara, and I am directing her. And she plays a character who we meet in the 3rd episode of the video named Chessa. And she sort of has a story to tell Elvis and his cohort about the Woodpire Mill Phantom. So, that's just me directing her. The middle one is back up at that location again, so we used it a lot. And this is a birthday party for a character, and it's like supposed to look like a home movie. And you'll see that in the episode. It's a home movie of one of the team's birthday party from some years back. And then over on the right, we have Rachel Griffin, who is playing one of Elvis's unpaid interns that you meet in the 2nd episode. She's Natalie, but she also was on the crew. She did continuity for us, and she did a lot of filming with us. And you see right here, Alicia and I are wrestling over a map. And if you've seen the trailers, the map doesn't survive, first contact with Elvis for sure. So that's what's going on there.
Gotcha.
Disaster.
And then, of course,
yes. So this is also in my house, the final episode of the season. involves our confrontation with what might be paranormal or might not be paranormal. It's the Phantom of Woodpire Mill, or it's somebody pulling a hoax on us. But there you see on the door the shadow of some figure anyway, whether it's the Phantom or a hoax or somebody trying to cheat in the $250,000 contract contest. You'll find out, right?
So stay tuned. So you're definitely going to have to watch to find out.
That's right.
For sure. I had a feeling it was a paranormal experience. I'm going with it.
Excuse me. I actually quizzed all the people who, of course, had read the script, all the cast and crew. I was like, well, because there are a lot of different answers. Like, well, what do you think really happened? They're like, you wrote it, John. I was like, I know, but what do you think really happened? If you were watching, what do you think happened? And it was interesting to see, how people fell on that. If people said, well, it was a hoax, or it was this character, or it was this character the whole time. There are all these Easter eggs or breadcrumbs, whatever you want to call them, throughout the show that could lead you to believe who was involved or who did what. But there were some people said, no, it was clearly paranormal, including my son, who's now 18, Joel. He said, Dad, it was paranormal. So, yeah, that's right. So, but it's a little open-ended, I guess. It's one of those things where you want the viewers to look at it and sort of come up with their own ideas of what they think happened, but based on what we tell them and what we show them, things like that.
Yeah, and I was doing some research about the Woodpire Mill Phantom too. So how this all came about, and the town that it was in, and it was a vibrant town back in the 1930s, and then different things happened, and then pretty much it sounds like it almost basically turned into a ghost town. And I guess in the 1950s, and then these paranormal experiences started to occur. Folks have made comments and saying that they could swear that there is something going on there. So I thought that was very interesting too, that this kind of ties into all of this.
Well, and there's a secret about that, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. No, I can't wait for you to find out more about the Woodpire Mill Phantom.
Cool. So I kind of scraped the surface there.
You definitely got it all. You got it all for sure.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just going to say this. You got to think about the Blair Witch and how it was marketed. And then there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Right. Okay.
Gotcha.
So yeah, just wink.
Yeah. And, I'm trying to be careful not to. I will say this. The film technique, the lighting, the fade out, you tapped into something for me that it was reminiscent of something, and I'm going to come clean. I'm trying to figure out, and I guess it's almost like a documentary type,
right.
Which as you quoted, saying mockumentary,
right?
But just it's in the final scene too, where Alyssa Catherine is pretty much giving the summary, and it's like, basically stay tuned for the next.
Right.
There's a certain way that fade out takes place, and it is so reminiscent of something for me, and I can't figure out what it is, but it was just, and again, this is just one example, folks, but it was very well done.
Thank you.
It's just not something that was slapped together, is what I'm trying to say. But again, it's these little things that all come together to make the big picture, the big project. And you definitely hit on all the different, you've definitely checkmarked all the boxes, John. So again, I can't say enough about it. I very much enjoyed it.
Oh, I am so glad. We've worked really hard on this, and obviously we are super low budget, independent, and we're so lucky. One of my colleagues on this, his name is Tony Mercer, and he is like a sound guy extraordinaire, and like he's done the sound design, which I think is amazing. You saw an uncolor graded version, which is what went to the festivals, but he's been color grading it for us, so it looks even better than what you saw. Like it looks like $1 million, and he really took charge of cinematography and lighting, and the results. I mean, I looked at it, I said, "Oh my God, this is so good." What happened? This is fantastic.
No,
you
that's
know,
pretty awesome.
we're really happy with it. I mean, I think I hope everybody enjoys it. We're very happy with the experience and how it sort of plays together. And one of the things that's always fascinated me, is the line in these documentaries, going way back, things like the Legend of Boggy Creek, right? Things like that, like how real is it? How fake is it? It presents as real, but it's clearly not real.
Right.
The Blair Witch Project. There are all these kind of lines. I mean, and but the funny thing is, and the interesting thing, and this is probably where the literary critic, comes, in with me as far as the writing of it. It's like a mockumentary and a found footage horror movie, like they're like this close to each other, right? You tip it over this way and you're in a found footage horror movie. You tip it just a little bit this way, you're in a mockumentary comedy. And so I think that, abnormal fixation kind of, goes back and forth on that
Right.
meter, between those two things. That was, certainly the intention, but I have to say it leans much more towards the funny. But we use a lot of those techniques, like you were saying, the fade outs, the B-roll, the talking head kind of confessionals, all those kind of things, where we're trying to, harness the skills, the techniques of the documentary film to make this seem real. But I mean, it's obviously not real,
Right.
right? Yeah.
But it's the way it's being presented, and it's selling it. It's taking itself seriously, and
Right,
that's where you can have the fun, because
right.
there are moments where you're going to laugh and they're going to be like, wow, you're really serious about this. So again, you're going back and forth.
And and that's kind of the hard thing. And I know we're sort of charting this, and hopefully we'll have it. Hopefully it's nailed down. But it is sometimes hard to know. It's like how much is too much
Right.
comedy. How much is too serious, and like what exactly is that magic alchemy that people want. And I think it's what you said earlier, which made me feel so good. You said it went by fast, the whole episode.
And yeah,
Yeah,
it really did.
that's kind of the thing. If it's just, it's like sort of like you're juggling, and you got the documentary ball in the air, and you got the comedy, and you got some horror, and you have some serious stuff, and you're juggling all those things. But if you're just entertained by the juggling for 30 minutes, then you got something. You got something there. That's what I want. I want it to be. It's like, oh, I want to watch this till the end. And, oh my gosh, it's over. That went by really fast.
And when
And
it's over, you want more, which I
right.
did. So that's the
Oh,
other
good.
piece that it left me wanting more. I felt I knew the characters that I met in the first episode. And if you think about it, you did a lot for 30 minutes, because there's only so much you can do, but their personalities were defined,
Oh, good.
their relationships were defined, and it's definitely giving the connection to what's going to come next. So I
Good.
again, like I said, you're hitting the check marks, and it
Thank
really
you,
came
Roy.
through.
See, you're a great focus audience. Great preview. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Sherry said, hope during the filming of this, you keep all the bloopers and make a 30-minute show of that.
I am. Oh my gosh, I am doing that. So after the first 6 episodes, and we also have some interstitials that we're going to put like between those every week, like little pieces and things that will also air. The last thing after the sixth episode will be the blooper reel for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and although it may be more like 4 or 5 hours.
And
So,
you could
whoa.
do too, John, is you could do like a special commentary, maybe too.
Oh gosh, right. We could do that. Oh my gosh. You know, I believe me, I hope people like abnormal fixation enough that they want a commentary. They're just be like, I'm done with it. I hope they enjoy it enough. It's like, oh, I'd watch that again with a commentary. Sure. Listen, if people feel that way about it, I will feel very happy.
Well, that kind of leads in. I mean, I think your things are going very well in regards to, I mean, it's won some different awards. So definitely want to acknowledge that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I have just been, so thrilled and humbled by the reception the show has had on the film festival circuit. It's just sort of surpassed all of our wildest dreams, to win these awards. Alicia and Chris have each won acting awards. I think Tony's won a couple of best sound design. awards. We picked up a best web series. I won for best comedy actor. I think me. What the heck? Right.
Congrats. That's
You
pretty
know,
good.
it's just really been lovely. I mean, it's been very nice. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Just to have this experience, because I've never taken a project on a film festival circuit before, and so this has just been, it's been an amazing roller coaster ride, and I've really enjoyed it.
No, I just wanted to congratulate you on that, because that
Thank
that in
you.
itself says a lot.
Well, I think everyone in the show is amazing, and I absolutely love it. But I also think that it goes back a little bit to what I said earlier, is that people want to laugh. Like right now, like I think if I had done a straight horror show, it would be great too. If I
Mhm.
or a straight sci-fi show, right? I mean,
Right.
hopefully I would have written it well. I've got a wonderful cast, wonderful crew, but there is something about doing this oddball, quirky comedy that seems to be appealing in some sweet spot to people right now. And I'm very grateful for that. Because again, like I said, that was sort of my idea, was that I wanted to make people happy and make people laugh, and maybe doing a more, serious, sci-fi or horror thing, wouldn't have scratched that itch for so many people, that this, absolutely insane thing seems to be, resonating with people.
No, I think your timing was really good, and that,
Thank you.
especially being, everything that's going on with everything. I think that being inspired to, to do that, I think you know, timing is perfect. So
Right. I mean, half the battle is always timing, right?
yeah.
So you don't want to be the movie that opens the same day as Star Wars, right? What was it, Sorcerer? It was a great movie too. It's like William Friedkin's Sorcerer. It was a fantastic movie. Like nobody went to see it, right?
Cricket, cricket.
Exactly, right. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so timing is important. So I hope, I feel like our instinct on that is right, and that people just need a good laugh, and I hope it provides that.
No, I'm sure it definitely will. Speaking of Star Wars and talking about horror movies, I want to go back to, I want to acknowledge a lot of the books that you've done, and we were talking about Space 1999, exploring Space 1999, that being your first, but
Right.
you've had an amazing career, John. I mean, I feel like I've been like in a time like in a time capsule, and then I found it and I'm opening it, and it's like, oh my goodness, and just it's pretty amazing. So tell us about the books that you've written. I know you've won some awards, different awards for some of the
Right.
books that you've done, and just about your journey, from back in the 90s up until this point.
I think I've just been incredibly lucky. Again, I think timing is really a big part of it. I think, maybe it's like timing and passion.
Mm,
Um, I I grew up with Space 1999 and I loved it. And I wanted to read a book about it, and no one wrote a book about it. Darn it! Right? Why didn't anyone write a book about it? Um, and you know the and Roy, I'm sure you've experienced this. The process of learning about Space 19, about reading what is out there. You see so many people putting it down, and
yeah,
it's not even really based on accuracy. Like a lot of the things are that people say to criticize the show are sort of half truths,
right,
or in some cases flat out lies. Like,
right.
they never said that. They never did this. What? Camelot locator beams. What the heck is that? Right? What?
In the
Gary,
review,
right? Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
So,
that.
so you know, I think at the time, I wrote the book because I was so passionate about it, and I had this sort of, righteous indignation because, at the time I had come out of, I'd come out of college, and I had a concentration in film, and I'd learned all these film techniques,
Mm,
and then I began this hunt of like trying to find all the Space 1999 episodes on Laserdisc, and like what do I find when I look at it? It's like this incredibly filmic cinematic show, right? And I suddenly have the vocabulary and terminology now to talk about it in ways that demonstrate it's sort of abundant superiority in terms of cinematography and lighting and mise en scène and all that. I mean, so that's what I did. But I mean, I really constructed that book as like a legal defense. It's like if I went into court and I'm going to defend Space 1999, say it was great because this, right? So that was my passion for it. But the timing of it was great because like the internet was just coming up.
Yeah.
Sites like the Cybrary were just coming up, and so
Yes.
like it was like this synthesis of things happening, and it took off.
Mhm.
Um, whereas if I'd done it 2 years earlier, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe that synergy wouldn't have occurred. So again, like so much of a career it really is timing and your passion for something, I think. But it took off, and the Space 1999 fan community is just an amazing, amazing community. So wonderful, so supportive, and again, that's what I wanted to write about, and I loved writing about it. And then it was successful enough, and that McFarlane came back to me and said, "Why don't you do 3 books in a year for us?" I'm like, "Holy cow, okay." And I thought, well, this is an opportunity, and that was the year I wrote my first horror book. I wrote the Wes Craven book, the Doctor Who book, and the Battlestar Galactica book, in 1 year, because again they were telling me, if you do these 3 books, and I thought, well, how can I say no? Because that's what's going to be, that'll build my career.
Absolutely.
And after that, like I just never looked back.
Yeah.
There always stages through the career. The McFarlane is a wonderful publisher, and I love them, and I still work with them. But then there was a point where I got a publisher in New York City, and they published my Kevin Smith book, and then that did
Mm.
even better. And it's like it just kind of built and built on itself, to some extent, until really the Great Recession.
Right.
Hey, May, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, get Christopher Guest and Kevin Smith. Thank you, Vinny. I loved writing both of those books. It became, I wrote at a tear, sort of as fast as I could through my 30s and early 40s, and then the Great Recession hit,
Yeah.
and really, I was making a decent living as a writer, but publishers like started paying a lot less.
Mm.
So again, like I could write 3 books in a year and like support my family. But like after that, it became like I would have to write 6 books in a year to support, and like my brain just can't work that fast. What is that, like 2 months a book or something?
Yeah, that's a lot.
It became a lot tougher, and so I went back to grad school. Got my master's, got a job teaching communication and film,
Mm.
and so then I could write at a more leisurely pace and not just sort of take every assignment that came away. Hey, you want to do a book on that? Yeah, give it to me, because I got to get my books out. So and I guess that's really sort of where I've been, is is taking it a little slower now in my 50s, so I can spend good time with my wife and Joel, before he heads off to college in the fall,
Wow.
um, and and do these projects like this, like the audio drama we did in 2023, and Abnormal Fixation, which we did in 2024. I mean, you don't get paid a heck of a lot as a teacher, but you have 3 months off to and time is more important than anything. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, having the time to do that. So I my rule has always been, is in terms of the books I write, I really try, if at all possible, to only write books about subjects I'm passionate about.
Sure.
Like, so even when I wrote like the rock and roll film encyclopedia, I was doing it to write about Elvis, to write about all
Mm.
those Elvis movies that I love so much. So I don't
Yeah,
know if
because
that
that's the fuel. I have to imagine that's the fuel. I mean, you're enjoying it. It's not just work, but it's you're
right,
fueling your passion, and it's the enjoyment that you're getting out of it. And it is connected with work in that sense, but it's
right.
it's 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 a win-win. It's a double thumbs up, I should say.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, I love, and I don't know what this says about me, but I love to revisit things. Like
Mhm.
like I could sit down and watch Space 1999 again right now, and it would be like the 100th time I've watched it, or the X Files or Millennium. Like I could sit down and
Yeah.
watch those again, and I feel it, like those things, like if I'm working on a book, it's like, and I'm watching those things, like I always like see something new or come up with some new idea about them. And like to me, like that's just the greatest thing. Like to say, okay, on my third revisit of Millennium, I saw this, or on my 57th revisit of year one of Space 1999, I saw this thing, that I never noticed before. I mean, that's amazing, right? And I just really enjoy that.
57th, John? That's nothing.
That's nothing. That was 20 years ago. But it's just great. Like, there's just something so thrilling to me about being able to write about these shows. Oh, and so yeah, got a Millennium fan here. Yes, I could watch that. Yeah, I love Millennium. I would love
Millennium. That was with, and I can't think of the actor's name, but he was in Aliens.
Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, right? Yes,
that's right. It was it was I think a remarkable show. It's not on any streaming service now. I wish it would be. So it hasn't. A new generation hasn't found it. I think if they did, they would love it. I mean, because it's really well done. But just like experiencing these shows and then like being able to write about them, to me, is like an amazing gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff's busting your chops.
Space 99 never gets old.
No,
and neither do I.
No, you don't.
It's like that Twilight Zone episode, 90 Years Without Slumbering, where the guy says if he always sets his clock, he won't die, right? So as long as I keep watching Space 1999, I think I'll be immortal.
It's like yesterday.
That's right, exactly. No, so for me, that's it. I've had my blog, and I love my blog. I mean, it's crazy for me to think I've been blogging for 20 years. I have almost 12,000 posts on my blog. I mean,
wow, John, that's amazing.
It's crazy. And I mean, I think, some of the things that I've just loved there, like I wrote about, this is going back some years, but like the horror mythology of Space 1999, like just like looking at it as horror, you have time and, the impulse to look at these things creatively because they're made with such artistry, Space 1999 or the X-Files or UFO or, whatever you're looking at, horror films of the 1970s, a lot of good stuff there. And, you have that opportunity to write about it from a new angle. I mean, and that's what I love. And I think I hope that's what people respond to in my writing.
I remember Missy just said I can never forget the family eating dinner and getting sick.
Oh, that was horrific. Oh my gosh. Yes. So the Millennium Group unleashed the Marburg virus. That was like a cliffhanger of season 2 of Millennium on a family at like a holiday dinner. And it was like Ebola. Like, I mean, at that point, this was like 1998, I think. You've never seen anything like this on television.
Wow.
I mean, they all this nice family, they all like started bleeding out of their pores. Like they went to go dial 911 and you see the finger hit the button on the phone and blood comes out of all the pores all over I mean, it was unbelievable. Yeah.
And that was on TV.
Yeah, it was. It was horrible, but good. That's right. Yeah. It was horrible, but good. It was stunning. I mean, it was shocking. It was sort of very transgressive, which, if you're a horror fan, horror is supposed to transgress. If it's not really scaring you and troubling your slumber, it's not really horror in my book. It should be something that really kind of disturbs you a little bit. So
now, is Millennium available on DVD?
So it is available on DVD, but it never made the cut to Blu-ray. Sadly, there's a great documentary about it called Millennium After the Millennium that's available on Blu-ray that I recommend. Not just because I'm in it, but because I get to talk about it. Because I love this show so much. But so it's on DVD, which of course is a reason I have not watched it with my son because these huge today 65-inch TVs, you can't put a DVD on and the resolution is bad, doesn't look good. It's like,
you need the Blu-ray.
That's right. You can't introduce it to somebody like that not looking its best when it's a show so much like Space 1999 where it's like the cinematography, the lighting, it's just incredibly artistic. You don't want to do anything to mitigate those, astonishing visual qualities. So I actually see a lot in common between Millennium and Space 1999, which is probably odd to some people, but they're both, intensely visual experiences, which again is something I really like.
It always stuck in my mind too. I remember, I believe in your book, as well as having discussion, because I remember at the 99 convention in Los Angeles, I mean, we were in a room. You were talking about, basically going over about the series, and it was a wonderful discussion. And Force of
Love
Life, the opening of Force of Life, right before it goes to the main credits, and David Tomlin, excellent director. I mean, the cinematography in that episode. I mean,
it's
what was captured from
astonishing.
his direction, how everything just turns upside down, and that was just like a precursor. It was almost just to let the viewer know, what, everything is going to turn upside down. And I remember you pointing that out, how
Yes.
taken you were with that, and it was just brilliant, and
Yeah,
such a
Force
well
of
done
Life. I mean, it's a great episode. To me, I think that's my
horror.
ultimate favorite episode. It's straight up horror for sure. And but it's all, there's the slow motion and the sort of fisheye lenses when
Yes,
when Zoroff is coming at the medical technician Hillary Preston, right? Is that her name? Right?
you got it.
Yes. All right. So there you go. So those 57 times came in handy. The distortion lenses, his hands, the turning of the upside.
Exactly.
I mean that's just some great stuff that you don't get
Yeah.
certainly on television in the 1970s. And attention to the detail of to technique and lighting and all these things that make the series richly cinematic. And I'll maintain till my dying day. I'll have someone carve it on my tombstone that the reason people misunderstood Space 99, like they were looking for it, like someone to tell them what it means,
Right.
but your eyes tell you what it means. If you watch the imagery, you know what it means, but they were looking for explanations
Yeah.
for like dialogue to say, this is this, this is this, this
Yeah.
is what that means. But Space 99 turns the camera over or gives you that distortion lens or whatever. So it's explaining it all to you, but it's through visuals. And I just think, that's an incredibly elegant way to do storytelling. And I feel sad for like the people who don't get that. They're like, the
Mm.
stories don't make sense. I'm like, they do make sense, but you actually have to watch them. Right?
Yeah, literally, you have to watch it, and
Literally, you have to watch them. Right? You have
I
to
mean,
pay
even right up
attention.
to the end in that episode. I mean, people, looking for the characters. Eva Zoroff is looking for the explanation of what happened, and there
Right?
is no explanation. It
Exactly.
just happened.
Exactly. And for the life of me, I've never understood why, pardon the phrase, that's alienated people, because they say like, we don't know why this happened. Helena says that to her. We don't know, what's behind it. We just have to help each other. I mean, that's the core
Yeah,
idea of Space 99. Is like the only thing that we have to hold on to out here is our humanity, right?
exactly.
Um, and that's a great idea that's carried out so brilliantly, I think, in Force of Life. But all people could complain like, what does the alien want?
Right. You're never gonna know.
I mean, I remember talking to Johnny Barney. He said, "What was I supposed to do, Johnny? Was I the alien supposed to land, and was I supposed to have it say, fill me up, and I'll be on my way? Would that have been better? Would people have liked that better? you know, I mean, it's funny because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I love Star Trek fan.
Well, same
I
here.
mean, I love Star Trek, but it has different virtues.
Yeah.
And Space 99 wanted you to think about what you were. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Star Trek and Space 99 have very different virtues. In Star Trek, like they would have an alien land and say, "I'm
Yep.
here to do this and this." Like, can we trust it? It's different. It's a different kind of drama. It doesn't make it bad, but
Right.
they're just two very different kinds of dramas. Space 99, because of its budget, because of the people it could afford to get at that time with the economy in Great Britain. A lot of
Mm.
people in the film industry, could really have those, amazing visual touches, that Star Trek as a product of the American network television in the 1960s could not. It had other great virtues too, great writing, great performances, all that. But anyway, I could talk forever about Space 99.
No, it's all good. And I'll have to have you come. I'll have to have you back on the show, and we'll actually discuss that at some point too.
That's right. The visuals of Space 1999. That's it.
All with that. One last comment in regards to 1999. Missy said that scene with her and Helena resonates so differently with me now that my husband has passed away
Mm.
because sometimes there is no explanation.
Oh, sorry for your loss. And I mean that's so true, and I know it's not the same, but when my father passed away last April,
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying. You think why, right? As human beings, we don't get the answer to that question, and we want it. We want to know why. Why did this happen to somebody I love now? What's the explanation for that? And we don't get it. But what we do have is hopefully, each other to help us understand, what
Right.
we've been through and be able to reflect on it. So I love what you said there because I do think it's a very meaningful expression of what it means to be a human being at the end of that episode, just like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. One comment I passed up on before, which I want to go back to, is Sherry was asking. She said, "Is this the first time you've acted in your own movie?"
Oh my gosh. So in the going back to 2006, when we did The House Between, a web series, I guessed in that. I was a villain. I was a very nasty person, very nasty scientist who was like experimenting on the human race. And I guess I was in maybe 3 or 4 episodes out of the 21, and I loved it because I directed many of the other episodes, and so I got to watch the other cast members. So I love to like get into the mix and like mess with them like on camera, and I realized I really loved it. So yeah, so this is not the first time I've acted, but I guess you'd say it's the first time I've taken on a lead role. And one of the reasons I did that is because I mean, Elvis is such a singular person, and like I said, you can't have any ego at all. Like you know, uh, he, he does. You'll see the just crazy things, right? I thought, I can do that, and if people don't like it, well, then I'll take the brickbats, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Then I'll be the one who's on the hook for having tried this and failed, that kind of thing. So, but hopefully, I didn't. But still,
No,
I thought,
you
yeah,
didn't. But I totally understand your rationale with that. Yeah,
yeah. It's
that's a
like, oh, this is an outrageous character who could fail completely, right? So I'll take that on, and if he does fail completely, it's my fault. So everybody, you heard that here first, right?
Wow. Um, so John, I want to thank you for being up on the
Oh,
show.
thank you.
Talk about time going fast.
Oh,
It's
yes.
been flying by. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask folks out there if they have any other questions that they would like to ask you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shout outs portion of the show. And then what I'll do is I'll come back. Um, so I'll do that quickly. One thing
All
I've
right.
been doing on the show is we have been doing That's the Way It Was, a tribute to Walter Cronkite. If you are probably under 40 years old, you may not know who Walter Cronkite is,
That's right. That's right.
but back in the day. But I'm using the date January 12th, 1975, because today being January 12th. So one of the things back in 1975, movie releases that were taking place was Stowaway to the Moon, Dark Star, and The Count of Monte
Mm.
Cristo. And the US #1 song was You're the First, the Last, My Everything by Barry White. So there's a
Yes.
reflection of that. And before I go to that, Missy wanted to ask, please have another episode with John just to discuss whatever. We definitely will.
Thank
As long as
you.
John's willing to come back on the show, we definitely will.
Absolutely. I would love to.
All right. I just want to give a shout out to Country Gate Players. Bill is out there, my friend Bill. And Country Gate is in Belvedere, New Jersey. So if you are in the New Jersey Belvedere area, you'll definitely want to check out Country Gate. There is a upcoming murder mystery dinner theater production that is going to be taking place February 8th, and the doors will be open at 6 p.m. It is a Saturday, and it is at the Belvedere Manor. So definitely look into that for tickets. Tickets are available. You can reach out at 610-248-7285. And again, to visit the website for Countrygate, it's www.countrygate.org. And then also Bill does some pretty cool stuff. You can go to www.billscarrato.com. Also want to give a shout out to my friends Mike and Mary Beth for Sci-Fi Distilled. They are on Wednesday nights, and they discuss 80s, 90s, and beyond for TV and movies. and they stay tuned. They will be posting as far as what they will be doing this coming Wednesday. And I can't believe it's like the middle of the month already. Wasn't it just like New Year's Eve? And we just kick
Yes,
off 2025 and we're halfway
exactly.
through.
Why
It's
is time
crazy.
going so fast?
Oh my goodness. I want to give a shout out to Captain Phil from Captain Phil's Planet, Phil Merkel. The captain's schedule is on WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. He is on alternating Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and he's also on Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he's also another huge Space 1999 fan, as we know.
I love Phil. Yeah.
And also want to give a shout out to my friend Jeffrey Morris for the Eagle Obsession. The documentary is going to be premiering this year, folks, so stay tuned for informational updates. You can visit the website, which is www.eagledocumentary.com. And also want to give a shout out to Lou Place. Lou actually just completed a film that he put together, and it's available for streaming on YouTube. It is called Found in Space. And it's a comedy that he did. So definitely, if you have the opportunity to check that out. And also want to give a shout out to my son Ryan for Run by Ryan, his website, Empower Your Run. He does online run coaching service provider. You can check out his website, and it is free to sign up for information. There's different levels if you want to go to the next level for that. And it is www.runbyryan.com. And also want to give a shout out to Martha for Studio One Thrift. She has a physical store location as well as a site that you can visit online, which is www.studio1thrift.com. She offers quality, stylish, affordable clothing for both men and women. You can receive styling tips as well, but you must make sure that you register. And again, that is for Studio One Thrift. Also, I've been doing a podcast with my friend Warren Friedrich. We've been doing this every week, and it's for Space 1999. We just completed episode 1 yesterday, or excuse me, year 1, episode 12 yesterday, Voyager's Return. In fact, Matteo Latosa was actually our guest on the show talking about Voyager's Return. So it was just put out there. You can definitely check it out. And it is done on a weekly basis. You can go to Facebook as well as YouTube. And if you are a Star Trek fan, we were just talking about Star Trek, classic Star Trek. The Star Trek Original Series set tour is going to be having William Shatner return in June. It's going to be June 27th and June 28th. It's a Friday and Saturday. For information, visit the website. It's www.startrektour.com. And also a shout out to my friend and my co-host, Ross Amico. Unfortunately, Ross wasn't able to join us tonight. Ross has 3 shows that he does. Picture Perfect, which is on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He also does Sweetness and Light, which is on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. And The Lost Chord, which is on Saturdays at 7 p.m. He also has his blog that he does on Facebook, which is under Classic Ross Amico. And to visit the website for those 3 shows, you can go to kwax.uoregon.edu. And speaking of Ross and I will be back next Friday, and we will be discussing the 1982 film Conan the Barbarian. We were supposed to cover this a couple months back, but we had a delay, so we will be doing that. That'll be the 249th episode. And then next Sunday, I'm going to be welcoming onto the show as a very special guest, Mr. Adam Nimoy, and he will be talking about his upcoming book that has just been released called The Most Human. So he'll be joining the show. That'll be next week for our 250th episode, which is, wow. John was commenting about that before, which I cannot believe that is that's going to be pretty cool.
That's incredible. And to mark your 250th show with Adam Nimoy. Man, that's awesome, Roy. That is cool.
Thanks, John. Just some of the comments that came through. Bill said, thanks for the great show tonight. And Sherry said, thanks for being on the show. Very enjoyable. Don't forget For your next movie venture, Roy and I are actors. Lots of laughs.
Okay, hey.
Oh boy.
How do you feel about Charlotte, North Carolina?
Vince is jumping in too. He's saying, "I'm an actor too."
All
In
right,
fact,
good to know.
Vince is going to be in the upcoming murder mystery that's being done.
Nice.
Vince, you're
Okay.
too funny. Anyway, John, such a pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed being on as much as I enjoyed having you on tonight. And
The time flew by, Roy. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
I'm really glad. I'm very happy to hear that. Dennis Chevalier is saying hi. He's joining us from Canada too. He just wanted to say hello.
Hey, Dennis.
And Jeff Rubel's saying he's out in Utah. He's saying I'm an actor too. Oh boy, John's gonna he's gonna be getting all these knocks at the door.
That's okay. That sounds good to me.
The main thing is, folks, mark your calendar. It's a Friday, I believe, and it is January 23rd.
That's right. I think it's actually going to be a Thursday. I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, now I'm double checking. You know, Roy, as I get older, little details like that kind of escape me.
No, you're right, John.
It's but we're doing a Thursday.
I apologize.
Right. No, that's okay. No worries.
So definitely mark your calendars. Thursday, January 23rd. Is there a time that the episode is being?
I'm gonna put it up bright and early. I'm gonna put it up at like 5 a.m. because that's what time I get up. People have all day to check it out. 34 minutes of pure silliness, right?
Pure fun.
Oh, thank you, Roy. That means a lot to me.
So Abnormal Fixation, definitely check it out, folks. And definitely circle back. And so until then, everyone, as I always like to close with, live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.
Take care, everyone.